Morning, welcome back to Alan's Allotment. It's the 16th of July 2022. So since you've seen the last video, I've been doing a little bit more in the evenings through the week, little and often. And today we're pretty much going to be putting out and raising the level and putting a ground base in for a new polytunnel. And the reason for that, these citrus trees that I have in pots that you've seen in earlier videos are really suffering now, and they're really difficult to keep going in pots. So I've decided they're going to go straight in the ground. As you know, I've got peach trees as well, which are susceptible to peach leaf curl. Now potentially the oranges, lemons and lime could go straight outside and weather it out. I have seen someone down south, where it's much warmer than up here, actually growing them outside successfully. But being up here, we know the weather's much worse, so I've decided we're going to have to give them some protection. So I've decided I'm going to put another polytunnel right alongside of this one, exactly the same size. And I've got a lot of scaffolding boards in the shed from an earlier purchase, and we're going to make a frame which will be anchored into the ground. Then the polytunnel will be anchored onto the frame as my old one is. So that's what I'm going to be getting on with today. But we'll give you a quick plot tour of the whole plot. Danny from Grapevine Allotment was saying that he hasn't really seen the full size of my allotment. So just for you, Danny, I'll give you a view of all three sections of the allotment that I have and how big it is. And we'll give you some updates with where we are and what we've been doing through the week. Right, on with the tour. So these are the flowers that we bought as little plug plants, and these were the surplus left over from when I planted out in the garden down home. And I'm going to get these into a big pot or something like that and have them as a nice display. This Montana Marjorie, which is a climber, is going down home, along with another climber I have down there. A couple more flowers, some more turnips. I still didn't get the Killersol and the Tundra cabbages in. I did get my brothers in for him, but they're coming along really nice. They'll be going in shortly. I've got some more cabbage there, earliest of all, way too many. So basically in here, this is just like my potting area. And out here, this is the first area of the allotment, Danny. So this is where I used to keep the racing pigeons, etc., in these lofts, which are all now empty and good usable space, storage spaces. So these are my Sapo made potatoes in pots, and I'm really struggling with these to keep them watered, as you can see. I'm having to water almost every single day. I did harvest the end pot because of how difficult it was, just to see if there was anything there. And there was actually a lot of potatoes of a half decent size. Considering I only put two tubers in each of these pots, there was a lot of potatoes. But Sapo meters are a great crop of potatoes. I'm trying to keep them going as long as I can, but it's really difficult keeping these hydrated. So they were still in this first area here, Danny, and in here this is the greenhouse, the first polytunnel. Now I bought this for about, I think it was £49 about 10 years ago, and it is galvanised steel framing. Obviously it lost its cover, the seagulls ripped it to bits, and we put this one on and they started to rip this one to bits, and I put this netted area up on the top a long time ago, on a lot of videos ago, and I had some plastic streamers, and that's now kept them off the polytunnel. In here you can see the tagetes are absolutely, they're over the path now. These are beautiful, they're growing strong and immensely. We've got the cucumbers, and I must have had 20 off this one already, and it's laden again. And it's grew right up, and I'm now starting to run it along here. This is the little grapevine that I put in, last year as a twig. and it's grew right up here. I'm just letting it fill out. I know it needs cut back, and I'm going to drag it along here. It's now starting to get to that stage where I can turn it and strap it to the top of here, and then in the back end we'll cut all the foliage back and leave it with a single stem. The tomatoes are going absolutely bonkers. They're as healthy as anything. The best set of tomatoes I've ever had, and loads of tomatoes on. No red ones yet. We have given them a haircut, as you can see, twice, and they need another one now. These are the aubergines, which are absolutely gigantic, and you can see now I am starting to get aubergines on there, and lots and lots and lots of flowers. The melons coming along. I've got the melons trained. I let them have 3 tendrils, and you can see we've now got a melon down there, loads and loads of flowers, and I think the first ones have come a male, but some of these, quite a lot of these, weren't getting pollinated. But I'm leaving the door open all day and all night now, every day. And have been for well over a week. Another cucumber with loads of cucumbers on. As you can see, we're absolutely inundated with just these 2 cucumber plants with cucumbers, but I'm not complaining. In fact, there's 2. You can see one behind there as well. The tashids, marigolds. This peach tree, this red bonfire peach tree, is absolutely loving it in the ground. Hence the reason for me going to put another polytunnel up and plant all the citrus trees into the ground. This particular tomato, I missed the sucker, and it grew into 2 main stalks, and I left it. We'll just get double the harvest. It's still thriving. So that's a quick update in the polytunnel. Right, so this is only the first area. There's all the citrus trees and everything. This is only the first area of the allotment, and of course there's all up the back of here. They're all the way down there. There were 2 ICBs set up in there, which runs under the shed with a hose pipe, and all the way down to the first polytunnel. So the next area of the allotment is where I keep the chickens. And these are all the chickens in here. Yes, it's overgrown, but I do leave this because the birds like to go in between the nettles and take shelter and cover. Plus, you might say I'm lazy. I wouldn't say lazy, but I just don't have the time. So I like to leave the edges like this, as you can see, and the chickens actually quite relish going under there. And not only that, it attracts insects and what have you, and they go in there and pick the insects as well. So this is the second part of the allotment, and then we have the third part of the allotment. This is the main growing area. This is our second sowing of second early potatoes, and second early potatoes again. They're Charlotte and they're Kestrel. The lettuces have gone bonkers. The leeks are coming along fine. We've been eating the turnips and they're still coming along nice. They're grown in different stages, so we're being able to harvest them over a period of time. The onions haven't done half as well this year as I would have liked. They've still got a bit of growing to do, but 1 or 2 of them are quite nice. But I would have liked them better than this year. I normally do get a good harvest, but again, the importance of this bed will be dug over and also topped with compost again this year, like all the rest, and then they will never be dug again. The broccoli, we took all the heads off. We're getting the second harvest. That one's actually blowing now. Just tiny things. These are the main ones. This was a brand new bed, remember. The lettuces are doing fine, the rhubarb chard's doing fine, and these are all the second florets coming up, which won't cut off now or they'll blow. So we'll get another harvest of broccoli from these. And like I say, these were planted, I think it was the first week of June, that's all. and they started to put heads on within a week, I think it was. It was quite remarkable. I'd never seen anything like it. But you can see we've took all the main heads, and here's all the secondaries, and there's the equivalent of another two big broccolis there when I've harvested those. Moving on, this is my sweet corn, the first plant in the sweet corn. As you can see, it's already thrown pollen out now on the top, and we'll see how that comes on. This was a trial. We've very closely planted these. They're only 4 or 5 inches apart, and there's 3 rows in there. We just want to see how that does. I got a great crop of corn last year out of this bed. And I only had 5 plants, and they were so spread out over that area, so I would think, and I got a fantastic crop of sweet corn. In here we've got rhubarb chard now going to seed, but we have been harvesting this. We planted a few spare onions in here that we had, and they particularly like the shade, or appear to, and these have done amazingly well, considering they haven't been in here that long. This is the celery, doing really nice. Then we've got garlic chives, 4 bunches, a few leeks. All of the spinach has now gone to seed, but we're still harvesting it. That's perpetual spinach, but of course it's gone to seed. And then we've got a few onions and leeks dotted in here as well. Moving around the garden, we have another peach tree here, which will be getting planted in the ground. We've got a pomegranate tree which is planted in into this bed now, and that puts pomegranates on every year. They're only little tiny things, but these can grow outside in the UK, and it will soon get established and produce full-size pomegranates. Some more garlic chives. This is the first sowing of beetroot, starting to get established now. It's multi-sown in places and singles in others, and I have only had the 1 courgette, and as you can see it's thriving in here. This is another brand new bed, if you've been watching the video, and we're starting to get small courgettes on. It's thriving, looking quite healthy. This is my rain barrel system, which we've been making really good use of. Again, I've got 3 more citrus plants here, a lemon lime and a orange, and they were really suffering. It's difficult to keep them going in pots, guys. Oh, this bed here is dwarf French beans sown, and then we've got our second round of sweet corn coming up in here, not as dense. This time we've got 1, 2, 3, I think there's 8 in there. So yeah, there's 2 rows of 4 in there. These lettuces grew amazingly, but they're going past it now. Apple trees, yeah, loads of apples, but loads of scab on them as well. They're not going to be edible. I need to treat these with copper sulphate. I promised myself I was going to do it this year, and I didn't get round to it. I've got another onion bed here which wants weeded, as you can see. A few other little spare onions that we had, we just dotted around, and again the weeds want to come out. The strawberries need to come out of here as well. They were only put in there until I got time to pot them up. These ones here still popping out strawberries right, left and centre, as you can see. There's a black bird, as you can see, as well, keeps getting itself in here and helping itself in spite of the net. So we'll let her out in a moment. Right, we got these beds dug over, as you know. We got them topped up with compost. I've now got this as a quick temporary cover because I needed to get stuff in while I make more of these. And in here we've got the swede tweed, and then we've got snowball turnips the rest of the way up there. In here you can see the birds making a right old mess on here and throwing stuff everywhere. But in here we've got multi-sown radish, red meat. It's a winter radish. Then we've got 1 all year round cauliflower there, And all of these are all year round cauliflowers, the second sowing. And then we've got some more multi-sown beetroot in there. Then we have a third harvest of sweet corn. Again, we have another 8 plants. This one that got annihilated by a slug has actually recovered and is making it, thankfully. These onions are now starting to pick up, that we transplanted out to the other bed where the cabbages were. The climbing beans are going bonkers and flowering all over the place now. You remember I planted all these too soon, guys. I think I put them out in February or March. And they suffered badly, but they've recovered. 2 little dwarf French beans there as well. They were put out in February, March, and how they didn't die I'll never know. The peas are now finished and going back, but we've had loads and loads and loads of this first little batch of peas here. A few more to take off and they can come out now. We've had multitudes of picking of the dwarf curly kale. I absolutely love this. I didn't like kale till I grew this, and now I absolutely love it. We've got this bed completely cleared. We've got all the broad beans out and everything now, the cabbages, the cauliflowers that was left, and this just needs a touch of a weeding and a digging over with the rotavator, the same as all these beds, and topped up with compost ready for the next harvest. And in here we've got some red pak choi. Only 5 plants, but that's all I wanted, and they're in there. And we've again utilised our cages that we had covering the calabrese. And then in here I managed to get 3, 6, 10 Primor 2 cabbages, and as you can see they've got established and coming along really well. And we planted these out really small, by the way, and just a bit like Charles Dowding does, and they're coming along really well. They do seem to benefit from going out earlier when they're younger. I don't know, he's absolutely right. In here we've got our second sown of peas, which are all coming along, really thriving. Then we've got 2 rows of sweet candle carrot in there, which have now been thinned out, as you can see. There's 2 rows in there, and then we've got our dwarf French beans sitting on the front, which will fall down, at worst will fall over slightly, easier to harvest. We have got a little bit of slug damage, but we've got a lot of these in, so we should hopefully still get a harvest because there's a lot of plants. Compost bin dropped significantly. We've been throwing all the potato chops and everything else, residue from the garden in there. Made a start on this one now. We've got more onions in here, and we only weeded this a couple of weeks ago, but again we need to keep on top of that. And then last but not least, the second greenhouse, or what was the treehouse. That particular peach there is thriving. That peach seems to be doing okay. The kale went ballistic. It's supposed to be dwarf. You can see the size of it in here, and we're still picking from it. It hasn't gone to seed yet, but I've already cut 2 or 3 of them out. I'm probably going to cut them 2 out as well. Bit more space in there for the trees. This is our apricot, which we chopped right off the top. The top half of it died, and it did put some growth out on this remainder of the stem, so we've now dwarfed it. And I've also cut back those to let the branches thicken, and you can see that's doing okay. If you remember these orange and lemon trees, this orange was up here somewhere. I've completely stocking topped this as well. I want them dwarf, I want to keep them dwarf, and it's actually benefited as a result of that, and it's now put all this new growth out since we cut it down. And I've done the same with this lemon tree. We chopped the top off, and as you can see, it's now putting out new healthy growth, and they will go into that well, we don't know. We'll wait and see how it comes back first. But yeah, all the garlic hanging up there, dried out now, beautiful. They're the biggest ones, and I've kept them for seed. Again, this was Aldi special garlic, I think it was, 2 years ago. This will be its 3rd year going in. That was Solent White. I wasn't very happy with that, but it's not bad. And this is the Aldi garlic we're going to use from this year. But they're getting bigger and bigger every year, guys, and I'm hoping for good things next year once I get all these beds topped up with new compost. So there we have it. A bit of a long one, I'm afraid. A rhubarb in the top corner. We have a plum tree there. It did get plums on this year, and they've all either dropped off or the birds have had them, whichever. Today I'm also going to plant my 2nd round of Sarpo Miras, and because they're a blight resistant variety, I know it seems a bit late for people to think about planting potatoes, but I'm going to put the Sarpo Miras in here. I've also dug this bed over now with the little rotivator and topped this up with, I think it was 6 or 7 bags of brand new compost along with fish blood and bone. This is a little frame I bought so that when the weather turns bad, I can put the plastic cover on this and hopefully grow a few lettuces or something like that under there. Not necessarily on this bed. Might go on that bed over there. But that's just another little thing that I got as well. Right, so sorry this one was a little bit long-winded. Basically what I was doing was showing any new subscribers or people who haven't seen the older videos the sheer size of this allotment. It's quite a lot to manage, but Terry King, Allotment Gardening on a Budget. If you haven't been to his channel, you want to pop over, I'll leave a link in the description below, and I'll leave one to Danny's as well, the Grapevine Allotment. But Terry has I know he's got 2 plots, it might even be 3, plus his garden, and where he finds the time to manage everything, and he grows fantastic vegetables, full of great ideas and tips. Probably my number 1 to go to when I'm watching videos on YouTube. He really is. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, and they're all great. Green Side Up, Tony Smith, just to mention a few. Simplify Garden, all just to mention a few. Digwell Green Fingers is another one, and I enjoy them immensely. So, as I say, sorry it's been a bit of a long one, but it's just to give new subscribers an overall view of the entire size of this allotment. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get on with preparing the base for the new polytunnel that's arriving in a couple of days, and that will be in another video. Well, we'll probably video that, showing you me putting the base down, how we attach the frame, and then put the cover on. We'll use its original cover, and we'll secure it the best we can, and we'll try and protect it from the birds, because the only reason the cover ripped on the other one was because the seagulls have pecked holes all over it. The wind got in and tore it to bits. But we'll try to learn from lessons with this second one, and then we'll show you when the trees are in and all the rest of it, and plant it basically into the beds. We'll put the roots down into the ground and all the rest of it. So this will be no dig, basically. But technically speaking, these trees will be able to get down into the ground below and establish themselves and hopefully thrive from here on in. Right, enough babbling. As always, guys, wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be practical, and keep yourselves out of harm's way. Thanks for watching. Thanks for all your likes, dislikes, and your subscriptions. We'll see you again in the next video.